Okay.
You aren't using the film, are you?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yep, I am. Okay. Okay.
My.
Quickly. Wardrobe.
Too late, as is.
All right. The question I have for you is, as the director of the Office of Indian Education, can you tell me about the relationship between the United States Department of Education and tribal education departments, and what role do you see, or I guess what role do you see U.S. DOE playing with tribal education, or vice versa?
In the past, there hasn't been a role between those two entities, so the Department of Education has not seen themselves as a player with tribal education departments. The role that has come through to the Department of Education comes through in statute. So each law that's passed that regards education will tell us what that relationship is in the field. And that's largely the relationship with the state education agencies. The state education agencies are independent of the federal government and are government-to-government relationships. As we are beginning to come into a full circle with tribal education has gone through a process where we were literally not involved in education as tribes whatsoever. We were, if anything, we were the clients without options. And so as that has changed from mission schools, boarding schools, and the whole history of education for Indian people, gradually states have assumed some authority over education in those native communities. There are still misconceptions and misunderstandings about what that relationship is between the states and the tribes. That is still an evolving relationship and an evolving understanding and mutual work. However, our children are citizens of the tribe. They are citizens of the state. They are citizens of the federal government. Our children are the entity that has always been a product of all three of those government associations. And so, as such, having the federal role comes through treaty, statute that is associated with treaty, and the state, although it had not in the past had a designated statute and authority to come in as citizens of the state, our children were equally eligible to be served by the states. In some states, that required legislation or court case in order to resolve that. There was a reluctance to take that on. There was a cost involved. And we do not pay taxes to the state. And so there is that monetary friction that is underlying all of our education process. As the tribes are beginning to assume more of a, first of all, interest, we see the lagging knowledge, the high dropout, the historical trauma from education activities. We have had those kind of difficulties to overcome. Tribes have that role, that responsibility for their citizens. And so the relationship is one that is changing. It is growing. As the tribal education departments have come into play, there is a formal entity to talk to. Those formal entities are becoming more well supported, whether it's through gaming or through tribal choice or through bureau support. There are lots of different ways that's happening, but the end result is that tribal education departments are gaining that support from their tribes. And so as they grow into more power and take on the responsibility that was 200 years ago was theirs in the first place. So sovereignty and how we understand sovereignty has been evolving. And that sovereign government-to-government relationship has been affirmed in the past generation. And we have Indians who have been able to become educated and have become players in this process. So it's a natural evolution. It is a relationship of responsibility and concern.